And so, as I said, the convection coefficient, it depends on conditions in the boundary layer, which are influenced by surface geometry, the nature of the fluid in motion, and some fluid thermodynamic and transport properties. This convection heat transfer coefficient, this is not like the thermal conductivity that you see in Fourier's law, because it is not a material property. In fact, it's influenced by many parameters. And we're going to see that when we dive deeper in the boundary layer theorem. But just so that you have an understanding right now, the heat transfer coefficient is influenced by, as I said, the geometry of the surface, the nature of the fluid, and physical parameters of the fluid thermodynamic and transport properties of the fluid and the surface. So when we look at the surface geometry, you have to know, are we dealing with a flat plate or are we dealing with a pipe? And that influences how the fluid flows. So the fluid flowing over a pipe is different than when fluid flows inside of a pipe. And also orientation matters. So if you have fluid flowing over a horizontal flat plate, that's very different than when you have fluid flowing over a vertical flat plate. And that's because you have an additional force that you need to consider when looking at vertical walls, such as the buoyancy. So this is the impact of gravity on flow. Also, the nature of the fluid in motion. So you could have forced flow, like for instance, if you look at this example where you have a fan that's being projected over hot chips. So, and you need to cool these hot chips so that you have a forced flow. So you have some kind of fan that pushes air onto it. And this is similar to the example I showed you earlier where you had a hot rod and a fan that's blowing air onto it. Now that will have a completely different profile and different heat transfer convection coefficient than if you have natural air that just flows over it. And so that now makes us think that, whether the flow is turbulent or laminar is important. And so if you understand fluid mechanics, you're going to realize that that's also related to Reynolds number. And so when we look at the chapter of the boundary layer theorem, you're going to see these parameters come into play. And also it's important to know what type of energy transfer is occurring. Is it just sensible heat, so you're just cooling something, or is there a phase change that's occurring? So as you see in this example, if you have cold water that's running inside pipes, and you are, let's say, cooling down air that has humidity in it, then you might have water droplets that crash out. And when there is associated phase changes, then the heat transfer convection coefficient changes. And the last thing that I want to mention just on a high level is that you have all of these parameters such as viscosity, thermal conductivity, density, and others that impact what the heat transfer convection coefficient would be in a particular scenario. So there's a lot of considerations for this, and therefore you'll find that sometimes it might be difficult to find what the exact convection heat transfer coefficient is for a particular scenario. And that's why also you find a lot of research, engineering research, goes into trying to find analogies, correlations that the engineering community can use to analyze different situations, because it would be very inefficient if for every particular application you want to size and piece of equipment that you have to actually go and measure out the heat transfer convection coefficient. There are ways, that empirical correlations that you could use to get pretty close to the actual heat transfer convection coefficient, and I'll show you how that is the case when you understand boundary layer theory. Now, this is a table that has the typical process values so that you can have an understanding of what ranges to expect. When you have free convection, and free convection means when you just have natural airflow, and or gas flow, or liquid flow due to buoyancy, and you don't have any forced flow, then the convection coefficient you could see is low. It's for gases, it's between 2 to 25 watts per meter squared per Kelvin. And this is just heuristics. And for liquids, you can have 50 to 1000 watts per meter squared per Kelvin. But once you start actually using some things like fan to force air, or if you have liquid and you're using pumps, now you're entering into a territory of forced convection. And you could see how significantly that impacts the heat transfer convection coefficient. So for gases, we're talking about maybe from 225 to 250 watts per meter squared per Kelvin. And for liquids, we're talking about maybe from 100 to 20,000 watts per meter squared per Kelvin. And if you have convection that has any phase changes associated with it or involved, now we're talking at a lot higher heat transfer convection coefficients. And that is why sizing equipment that would have phase changes would actually bring you the highest heat transfer convection coefficient. And some people actually utilize that in their advantage when they're trying to promote heat transfer as much as possible. All of this will make more sense when you look at different examples. Okay, so now that we have a high-level understanding of convection, now let's look at radiation.